I'll throw at you a little thought of the day that kind of came
Okay.
up. So years ago, I worked with a rabbi by the name of Rabbi in Scottsdale. And this was a man who was very highly regarded in the Jewish community. And I had an amazing time working with him because he was working a lot with interfaith. I was doing Shabbat yoga at his congregation every week, where we were combining yoga with scriptures, with Jewish scriptures, and talking about this. He's worked a lot with trying to, well, got on my Facebook feed this morning, and he suddenly passed away last night. And they haven't released what happened, but all I know is that it was sudden, and he's got 3 children, and the community is obviously very saddened. But one of the things that happens when someone passes, that's beautiful in a way. I don't want to discount how beautiful about their favorite memories, or they talk about what this person meant to them, or where this person met them on their journey, how they impacted their life, how they inspired them. But what got me thinking was, and it's beautiful, especially for a family in mourning, to hear all these amazing things about their dad, their husband, their partner, whatever. But it got me thinking about how so often we don't say this kind of feedback to a person's face when they're living, or when they're living or hearing it, right? There's a famous quote of, my mother always complimented me to other people, but never to my face. Along that same vein, it's like, we so often don't share with somebody when they can hear us, what they've meant to us, or how their work has inspired us or touched us in some way. And while I do believe that a lot of people, I do believe he does know the impact that he had, in his living body. I would just always think about this, how we often don't say those things until we're writing a eulogy, or we're giving our condolences.
Yeah, I love that. It's the simple idea of just, I think, sharing gratitude when you feel it. I think to even take it one step simpler, if someone, a friend, a colleague, a family member, whomever, if you're thinking of them, just send them a quick text. I'm bad about that. I don't do that, because I'm like, because, then there's the whole like, oh, I don't really want to I don't want to get into a 30-minute text, or I don't, like, I just want to send them a quick note. But I think it goes back to like what you talk about as preface, and just be like, hey, just wanted to send a really quick note, just to let you know that I appreciate blah, or I'm thinking about you, or here's something that made me think of you, or thank you for this, whatever it is, whether it's a text, or, they talk about at work, sometimes just sending a quick email. Take 2 to 5 minutes, just send a quick email to someone, or a Slack, or whatever. Just let them know, that you appreciate them. I think you're right. It's so important to do that. And that just creates more good juju in the world, taking that moment to let that person know what they mean to you, that just helps. It's like paying it forward, then the hope is that they do the same to someone else. It puts them in a better state of mind for the day or for that moment.
And I love how you said, like, on demand. So especially if you're lucky enough, importance in the moment that it's happened, to be able to like genuinely say, like, thank you so much for that. Like, I needed to hear that, or I didn't realize how helpful that was going to be, but thank you. In a genuine way,
and being willing to receive it too. I think so often it's both ways, right? Because so often we, as the recipients of compliments, depending upon your personality type, you may just be like, oh, it's nothing, oh, it's not a problem, oh, it's my pleasure, whatever you might say, and you can kind of cast it off. It's almost the same thing as I read something, I don't know, it was a couple years ago, or heard a talk, and they were talking about, let's say, for example, if you go out to lunch or dinner and you have a family member or a friend who offers to pay, And so often when that happens, it becomes like this struggle or this debate. And it's like, no, let's just split it. But the person's like, no, I want to pay. And then it sometimes can even escalate into something that becomes not, you don't become angry, but it becomes a little bit frustrating. And the person who was speaking said, why would you take that gift away from that person? That person wants to share it with you. Why would you take that away from them? Let them share, let them show, let them share, let them give you the gratitude that they want to you. Stop trying to stop it because of, pride with something like paying for a check, paying for a dinner or whatever. Let them give that to you. And I even had to employ that recently because my parents, we always go through this. It's like a constant, no, I insist. And I'm like, let me do this for you. And that was just the way I led it. I was like, let me do this for you. It's important to me. And they were like, okay. So just being able to receive the gift as well that's being given, whether the gift is appreciation or a true gift of some sort, being willing to receive it as well, I think is equally important.
Yeah. I love what you said too about how often we're not good at receiving a compliment.
Uh-huh.
My teacher, Dave Oliver, would say, when somebody gives you a compliment, shut up. He did. He would say, shut up. It's kind of a yoga thing. Like, obviously you're familiar with the namaste hands, but if somebody gives you a compliment, gives you an adjustment, is you actually don't say anything, but you can take your hands to your forehead.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love about this is you're basically acknowledging that you're thankful, but then you're pressing into your third eye. It's allowing you to actually process it.
Mm.
So he would say, don't say thank you to me. Don't make excuses. Don't say stuff. Don't say stuff. Because he was this surfer dude. Don't say stuff. He's like, if you want to do something, do this. He's like, and just take it in. Mm-hmm. Because I'm giving it to you. And by you saying stuff, you're like muddying it up.
Yeah, it's making it staticky.
Yeah, exactly. So you're absolutely right. For a lot of us, we receive a compliment and maybe it touches us a lot and we're like kind of like embarrassed or like or we feel that need to like give a compliment back, mm-hmm. Like, oh, I like your dress, oh, I like your shoes, mm-hmm. But like you said, it's like just when the mood strikes, to say it, and then just to say thank you and just allow that person to give that to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I love just the idea of say it when you think it and say it when you can to the person, because tomorrow is promised to no one, as we always say.
No.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know, and you don't know if you're going to get that chance. Mm-hmm. And, existential things aside, if it's my mouth to your ears, if that's what you got, then use it.
Mm-hmm. And there's so many easy ways nowadays to do that. Obviously face-to-face is the best way, but you could send, like we talked about, you could send a quick email, you could send a text. Every modern phone now has a camera on it. You could record a little quick 1 minute, shout out to the person and send it to them. It doesn't have to be something where you're necessarily engaging in a conversation unless you're able to, but sometimes that's why so often we don't, because we're just going from thing to thing or spot to spot or list, item to item. And so sometimes we don't, number one, I think taking the time to do that, but even if you can't, just put a little preface on it. Hey, just wanted to send you a quick note to let you know I'm thinking of you. Let's catch up soon. Or just to let you know that I appreciate this that you do, or this really means a lot to me. There's so many mechanisms nowadays to do that.
And I think the reason why people gravitate so much towards sharing things on social media is because it gives them a little piece of that, like, oh, people are liking my post, or they're liking my picture, or they're liking what I'm doing, or it's like they're getting that feedback. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that's been especially hard when you boil it down to the root level about this whole COVID thing, a lot of us are still under fairly heavy quarantine, even with phasing opening, is that we're missing a lot of that like personal, that feedback, not only like touching people, but like seeing people for real and like being in it for real. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a human connection there. I mean, humans are pack animals,
Yeah.
so it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's always good to kind of, and this is kind of a perfect example of take a much broader perspective. Week in our Stoic book, taking a much broader perspective, a much broader,
Mm-hmm.
is when you start to think about things from that big picture. And they even talk about it in this is, you can think about it as the end of your life or the end of the planet. When you zoom out like that, it's like, is it still a big deal?
Right.
Is it still a crisis, or is it like a blip?
Right. And I think sometimes with the Stoics, you can think they're a little fatalistic, or that could be the label you can apply to them. But I think they're just more, again, trying to focus on being here in the present. I mean, so often in a lot of the ancient writings from various teachers, they talk about, you know, treat today as a whole new life, because every day that you are here, treat it as a whole new life, and realize that that life could potentially end today. And it's some people that's very uncomfortable. We don't want to think about that, and we can think it's very fatalistic, but at the same time it really forces you to always show up as the best version of yourself as much as you can, but also being the best version of yourself for others as well. And with that broader view, it's kind of, again, it's taking that really high view to say, okay, is this minor annoyance? Should I let this ruin what could be my last day?
Yeah.
It sounds a little fatalistic, but that's the reality. That's the reality of
Yes.
life in many ways. You don't have to sit there with the dark cloud over your head. You don't have to be Eeyore in a sense, but at the same time, you can be reminded of it in small ways to say, is this how I want to be remembered today?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, I believe it's Mark Twain, and he says, "Live your life in such a way that when you die, even the undertaker will be safe."
I love that.
And I'm like, that's just such a cool way to think about the present moment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if this is today, make it a good one. Guess what? You got another chance to make it a good one. Another chance to make it a good one.
Yeah.
And whatever that means to you. It doesn't mean you have to win the lottery every day, but like the things that are within your control, you do it. And then, they always, I've been in like things where they talk about like, write your own eulogy and then allow that to be your guide of what goals you want to achieve by the time you die, blah, blah, blah. I get that. I mean, it's another roundabout way of getting you to think about what you want to achieve in your life. But a lot of times when people do that, they come up with these like just cuckoo
grand, yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, be grateful for, be content and be grateful for what you have today, for sure. It's funny thinking about Epictetus. He was kind of a funny guy. He was pretty funny. Because he grew up as a slave, and then he became a teacher, so he freed himself from that. But he has a quote, because basically he was in a lot of hot water, and he was like, well, if today is the day that I will die, then I guess it's going to be today, and if not, I'm going to eat my lunch. Because basically he's just like, listen, I can't control that. So if it's going to happen today, because, I think he was going to be condemned or, executed. He's like, if today is the day, then great. If not, then I got stuff I got to do today. I'm going to eat my lunch. I'm going to enjoy my moment. And then I'll deal with that when that comes.
I think there's a Leslie Knope knockoff of that, where she's
Probably
about her campaign, and she goes, "Today, I'm going to have lunch with my husband."
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So it's always a good reminder that view from above, and none of us hopes that today's our last day. I mean, well, maybe you do, but that's a different thing. We always want to be all around, and I get, having a 5-year-old, I get some heavy existential questions sometimes.
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
As we've talked about, like, I don't want to lie, but I also want to know my audience, right? So like the other day, it was, he's grasped the concept that like everybody starts out as a baby, right? That even daddy was a baby once, papa was a baby, right? So he gets the idea that everybody was a baby, and then he says, does everybody die? And I said, yeah, everything, every animal, every person that's alive eventually dies.
Every organism. Yeah.
Yes. And so he kind of like looks with big eyes, and he said, well, when am I going to die? And I said, I don't know. I said, probably not for a very, 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 very long time, but everybody that's born eventually dies, and nobody really knows when. And
Right.
he kind of took that in, and then just kept on playing with Legos.
He's like, okay, good talk. I'll come back to that one. All right.
Yeah, like that was enough. That was enough at that point. But it is true. Like from the minute anybody's born, it's anybody's guess, and it's how do you use that time?
Right.
Up to you.
Yep. So use it well.
Use it well.
And share your recognition and appreciation of others with them while you can. Don't wait until you're writing their eulogy.
Yeah. Don't wait until you're sharing with their family about what an impact they had, because a lot of us don't have the luxury of ever knowing that. Like, wouldn't it be so nice to know that when you've had an impact on somebody, if you could just share that? And like you said, it could be a very short, concise, like, hey, I was just thinking about you today, and I just wanted to say thank you for what you did for me, or I really learned a lot from XYZ. It's a gift, just same like you said, like paying the bill at dinner. Like, it's a gift that somebody just wants to give you.
Be open to giving it, and be more open to receiving it.
Yeah.
Lesson for the day, Sierra.
Just want to throw it out there. It was fresh.